So I was watching one of your videos, right? And on TikTok, because you have a TikTok now. One of them was
Right.
you explaining that you went to church, St. Dominic's.
Right.
Yeah, can you tell that story? Tell that story.
Yes, yes. So one of the things that happened is that when I decided to run, I didn't have a lot of support because basically I was not asking for endorsements of money.
Yeah,
So a friend of mine said, he says, you know what? Why are you running? I said, I don't know. I just feel a calling. And so I went to St. Dominic and I just got on my knees and I was praying to God. I said, God, send me some message of whether I should continue or not. And the priest said, you know, there's a very simple prayer. It's three words. Surprise me, God.
that's right.
So I'm looking at God and I'm saying, "This God, surprise me. Just surprise me." And once I came out of church, we started getting signatures, and then people started being real friendly. And it's been surprise me, God, every day. And it's
Yeah,
been a miracle. I mean, we made it. We made the for the signatures, and right now, I've never asked for any money, and I will not ask for any money. But people are still coming out and saying, you know, we support you because you're not part of the union, but you are a union man. And I said, that's correct. That's
that's
correct. I
right.
walked the line in '89, and I'll walk it again if I had to. But I will not take money from the unions at all.
Yeah, so you're not backed up by Allah or UTLA.
No, and I was a member of both, and I was a
Yes,
member of ALA for a long time, and I was one of the secondary directors. But I don't want to be a puppet. I want to represent the needs of the students and the parents. And one of the things that, if you've noticed, is that the unions basically want somebody that will endorse them. And
that's
then the
right.
establishment decided to go ahead and support the other guy that has worked for Jackie Goldberg for the last 4 years, and he didn't run because he wanted to make sure that he would be there waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a challenging system, but you know what? So God's gonna surprise me, and I believe that somehow we're gonna upset some people and some unions. I wish they used that money for scholarships instead
Yeah,
of wasting and sending so many flyers that are really meaningless. And a
that's
bunch
right.
of lies, by the way, a bunch of
That's right.
lies.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself for the viewers? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, you know, one of the things that makes me really unique from the other three is that in 1997 I had quintuplets. You know, we had
Cool.
tried to have kids for 15 years. I got married in '81, and I've always loved kids, but we couldn't have any kids. And then my comadre decided to help us out. So in '97, we had triplets.
Yeah.
One of my daughters died, and my wife carried the twins. And so the reason why I say that story is I never give up. I have always, always, they would call it necio. I call it persistent. I will not give up. I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to have kids, and God blessed me with the five, and then one died. And then in 2001, God surprised me again and sent me a kid through the natural way, Dorian. You know,
Yeah.
both of my sons are in the Air Force, and so you know, I'm a proud dad and a grandfather. And so God has always surprised me my entire life. Another thing that I emphasize is when I was 18 years old, I made a promise to myself that I may not be able to change the world, but I will not let the world change me.
That's
And I've
right.
kept that promise to myself. I really have.
That's right. Can you tell us a little bit about your educational background?
So my educational background, I graduated from Southgate High School, and then I went to Cal State Long Beach. At that time, it was basically free. But then I decided to go to Cerritos at the same time. So I was going to Cerritos and Cal State Long Beach. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was that the transition from high school to the university, they didn't prepare us. So I got there and I
No.
said, you know what, I don't feel comfortable. So that's why I went to Cerritos. I stayed there. Plus, they were giving money to people that wanted to go into education uh, through the bilingual education program. So I was working as a TA at an elementary school at Victoria Elementary, and then
Hmm.
I started working in Lennox as a TA and picking up students with special needs. And I would go to college. I got married in '81, so I didn't finish my career until '84, and I did my student teaching because I'm hyperactive. I was able to
Yeah.
finish my bilingual specialist, my special ed, my master's, and get all that done within about 2.5 years because I'm really hyper. Even
Yeah.
when I was at school at Southgate High School as a teacher, I had five clubs going: the Future Teachers, African American, Mecha, uh, Interact, and another one which was MAD, which was students that had been the victims of drunk drivers.
Hmm.
That hyperactivity has really helped me because it allows me to have energy. And I guess I can still relate to middle school kids because that adrenaline is still running through me all the
Right.
time. And it gives me the energy. And I think a lot of people don't realize, well, you're 64. It doesn't matter. I still feel 18.
Yeah.
unless I look in the mirror, then obviously I see it's a 64-year-old man looking back.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
you taught middle school, high school? Where'd you teach?
I taught elementary, second
Mhm.
grade, and the funny thing about elementary is that they gave me a class that had not had a teacher for a long time, and it was my old elementary school, Lindbergh and Linwood.
Mhm.
And within a couple of days, I had the kids marching and having fun, and they were singing at that time. A real popular song was "La de la Mochila Azul."
Mhm.
That song. And Fermin, I still remember him, and he would get him, ¿Qué te pasa, chiquillo? ¿Qué te pasa? And he would sing in the class, and the kids were like, yeah, Furman. And then he said, I have rabbits. So I went to his house to see rabbits. And his mom said, yeah, tiene conejitos. And so what I started doing, within about a week, the kids were completely under control. We would play games, and I really enjoyed doing the math because I like math. And they
Yeah.
memorized their timetables. They were able to do things. We did a lot of singing, dancing, PE, the writing, and then finding out about who they were. I taught middle school for 3 years in Linwood, and then I came to Southgate. I taught adult school, and I was a teacher from '88 until 2003 at Southgate High School, social studies,
Okay.
science, uh, psychology. I really enjoyed the psychology. And of course, I had all the clubs. I taught also at the adult school. And for me, it was a very rewarding experience because adults are different than kids. And I taught psychology, and they fell in love with the class, and they gave me a nice gift when I left. But the biggest gift was that the adults have never felt like somebody still believed they could accomplish
That's
things.
good.
And, some of those adults became friends. One actually became a psychologist, and he says, I never thought I could make it. I said, look, the dream is yours, not mine. You have to fulfill it. It's your responsibility. You only live once. This is it. This
Yeah.
is it.
Yeah. And then you became an assistant principal and a principal, correct?
So because of having to take care of 5 kids, and my wife was taking care of the kids. She's a retired, not retired, but she left the teaching profession. So I became an administrator, an assistant principal at Roosevelt High School, the second biggest high school in the entire
Yeah.
United States, over
Mhm.
5,000 students. I was in charge of attendance and discipline. And one of the things that you find out in East LA, there's tradition.
Oh
You
yeah.
have the
Oh yeah.
games, the classical things, and it's a beautiful. I mean, I love Southgate. I grew up in Southgate. I fell in love with Roosevelt. It was like, wow. But then I became an administrator at a continuation, Johnson CDS. It was a
Mhm.
closing school, it was a dying school because the district wanted to build Maya Angelou. That eventually became the school there. But the teachers and the students, we said, no, we're not letting it die. So went to the Board of Education, Mr. Cortines at the time, and
Yeah.
Miss Margaret Lamont,
Mhm.
beautiful, beautiful woman, really cared about the kids. She says, okay, because your teachers and you are willing to fight and argue about keeping that school closed, it must be special. I said, very special.
Yeah.
So we ended up in Hollywood. Bernstein had a little school that had been basically left vacant. So Mr. Cortines says, all right, I'm going to let you go there. So we went there, and Mr. Alonso, who became an incredible man, he's a mentor. I said, Mr. Alonso, can I plant some roses and some, pansies and different things around the school? And he says, why? I said, my mom always said that wherever I go, I have to plant roses. If they can't grow, neither can I. And so he says, está bien. So he came by, and I had already started planting some roses from the 99-cent store. I'm kind of cheap. But anyway, 99 cents, and I separated them into four. And he came by and he says, wow, Victorio, you really did what you were going to say. I said, well, you gave me a chance. So to
Yeah.
make a long story short, instead of allowing us to go to Watts, because they wanted to send us to Markham,
Yeah.
he said, I'll keep you, but let the school go. And I said, no, no, I go wherever the school goes. So we stayed, and we changed the name from Johnson, Dorothy Johnson,
Mhm.
to Richard Alonso once he retired.
Yeah.
Um, that's when I met Marshall Tuck and different people that wanted us to go to different school sites. They were not very nice to us because they really felt threatened by the students that are at risk. And so when I went to Markham, I spent probably about 2 hours trying to convince the teachers that we were okay. My kids were good kids. And they said, well, you're bringing criminals. I said, why am I bringing criminals? So one of the ladies at night, we met with her, and she says, you're willing to bring criminals. I said, let me tell you something. We're bringing the kids at your house. Do you see criminals at home? I said, because our kids are born innocent. They're born without any gang tattoos. I
Yep.
said, within 12 years, we make them gangsters. We make them failures. We allow them to become traumatized because the adults are the ones with the issues. The kids don't know what issues they may have. I said, you just have to love them. So uh, one of the teachers that he says, well, if you're so great with kids, why don't you take my class? I said, you already gave up. See, that's your problem. You already gave up on your kids. And he says, you're
Good
twisting
point.
things around. I said, no, I'm not twisting them. You
Good
said it.
point. Yeah.
The sad thing is that many teachers get frustrated with kids, but they don't realize unless you know what they've gone through, and
Hmm.
many of our kids are homeless, have parents with mental illness at home,
That's right.
have individuals that don't even let them sleep at night. And we just assume the kid is falling asleep because they're being rude and disrespectful to us. You know what? Let's walk and understand where they're coming from. And 99% of the kids are beautiful kids that want love, respect, and they
That's
have a
right.
dream. They
That's
have a
right.
dream.
That's right. That's a good point. Um, so you're running for District 5 board member seat. What separates you from the rest of the candidates? So, uh, people are going to watch this, right? And nobody from my, I don't really know the other candidates. I know
Right.
you. I know you. I've been watching your little TikTok videos, and I got a good sense of who you are.
Thank
I've
you.
heard other people talk about you on your TikTok, like some people just vouching for you, saying, you're a good guy, you stand for this, you stand for that. What message would you want to send to all the people voting? What message do you want to send that separates you from all the other candidates?
I think the basic message is that I am student centered. I love students, and students deserve nothing but the best. The
Yeah.
other three candidates are either politicians or individuals that all of a sudden want to be out of the classroom. The three of them still work for the district. I'm the only one that can actually speak the truth to power and not be fired. I'm not
Yeah.
looking for a promotion. Second thing is, I
Yeah.
will not ask the unions to give me money or endorsement, because when you get their endorsement, I've been there. I've watched the leadership in the different unions, and all they care about is what is in it for me.
Hmm.
I have never ever heard a union say, we're going to walk out. Our kids are not learning. They're only exceeding either at 30% or 40% reading in mathematics, but we're failing them. So I remember one situation where my supervisor got me on the side, and she said, what are you thinking? Because I told, and there were about maybe 700 parents, and I said, look, let me explain dropout rate in LAUSD. I said, if we have a jumbo jet and you have 1,500 kids that get in there, but only 500 arrive, the district will want you to believe that somehow midair the kids transported themselves into a different jet, and somehow they are graduating. I said, no, we're graduating 33% of our students. We're failing 66%. And those individuals didn't disappear. We allow them to disappear since seventh or eighth grade. I said, but we still get 1,500. I said, they generate money. And then the district has this little token activity. Oh, we're going to go out and get the kids. One day out of the year? Are you guys fools? Because one year out of the doesn't make a difference. Go out every day. I would challenge any of the other three people to teach 1 week middle school and try to motivate the kids that no one wants in their classroom.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I would take those kids because I love
Yeah.
kids, period. I would challenge Carvalho to go ahead and go into a classroom and try to teach. Not just one day and do a little show every single day to motivate kids. The other people say that it's impossible to have 25 to 1. I don't think so. Once you change the perception of what is in front of you, what is in front of you changes. As long as we say that we can't change, it's not going to change.
Yeah.
Teachers can fight and everybody can fight. Oh, I want 25 to 1. Let's make it a reality. There's a lot of money wasted. Imagine, which what people don't want to talk about. We have kids with drug problems, but no one talks about it in school. They suppress it. We have teachers that are under investigation. If we paid $6 million, $140 million for abuse, and we have teacher jails,
Yeah.
and I'm sure there are, according to the rumors, about 300 of them, but no one talks about it. That's money that is wasted. So the money is there to go 25 to 1. The money is there to make sure that the parent education is a component that will definitely make a difference. Without parent participation, that's one of the things that I saw at Eagle Rock. Eagle Rock truly has parents that are engaged in the educational system of their kids. And if somebody tried to tell them, well, you can't really tell us how to run the school, they would say, I'm sorry. You don't want to be here anymore with us, do you? Where most of our other communities, if the principal says, you know what? It's 3:30. I gotta go. No, no, no. The school's supposed to be open from 7:30 till 4:30. Check most of our schools. By 3:30, 3:45, the adults are gone. And
Mm-hmm.
by law, they're supposed to be there till 4:30. So they're
Mm-hmm.
not accessible to the parents. I'm accessible to the parents. You can ask anyone that has known me all my life. If anything, we had one parent that said, uh, I got to go to work early in the morning, so I can't make it to the parent conference when I was the principal at Simon Rodia. And I said, how early can you come? He says, well, I can be there at 4 in the morning. And I said, I'll see you at 4 in the morning. He brought the student. We sat down. We solved the problem. He stayed there till 6 o'clock. We talked for 2 hours. And he says, I didn't think you were going to come at 4. I said, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I come at 4?
Yeah,
I said, you work every day. I come, and based on your schedule, I'm going to change mine.
yeah.
So it's about accessibility.
So how do you get that same mentality, right? So you're talking about, you mentioned Eagle Rock community over there. That's a high end community right there. You got
Thank
homes
you.
in the millions of millions of dollars up there. You got, and then you got the Pico Union area which stretches into District 5 as well.
That's correct.
So how do you, like you mentioned Eagle Rock, how do you get that same mentality in the Pico Union area?
To me, it's very simple, and I'll explain it why it's so simple. Because every time I drive around, nuestra raza are people that go to work early in the morning. You see their grandparents, their tias, their uncles walking the students. Pico, Southgate, Maywood, Cudahy, they're there from early in the morning. The only problem is that the system does not show the respect to those parents. They show
Mm,
the respect to the ones in Eagle Rock because of the level of education. And I'm not saying that the ones in Pico don't. You could have doctors, lawyers, all kinds of people that are well educated in the same areas, but they may be too busy working. But I see them coming in every morning and dropping off their kids. And
mhm.
so I think we can get it. The question is, are the adults in those communities, and I'm talking about the administrators, the teachers, willing and able to meet with the parents and show them the respect? Show them that their voice counts, because in the early or mid 2000s, the district decided to neutralize the parents. You're
Yeah.
too young to remember probably, but we used to have meetings with the parents, summits. It was district wide. All of a sudden, no need for that. Why? Because the parents were getting educated and demanding, and the district doesn't feel comfortable when you have Latinos and African Americans demanding better education for their kids. They feel real
Mhm.
comfortable when we put our head down and says, "Thank you for allowing my son to get a diploma." What? Thank you for giving them a chance not to apply for a job and
Yeah.
become. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, because one of the biggest injustices that we've done is to the special ed population, where they
Yeah.
just give them a paper that says certificate of completion,
Completion.
which
Yep.
is really sad because they fool the parents thinking that it's a real diploma. And it's just a
Yeah.
certificate of completion. And I have a couple of relatives that have autism, and they've asked me, same thing with my neighbor. He says, can we do some internship so that we can do meaningful work in our life? Because they give us money every month, but that's
Yeah.
not enough. We want to have a purposeful existence. And I'm like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
The resources are there. The district chooses not to do it. Those are the abandoned kids, and it's a large population of the special ed needs that are completely neglected, and the
Mhm.
district just mainstream them to make them feel like, oh yeah, yeah, you can take algebra. Okay, now you're gonna ask the regular teachers to do something that is challenging with some of the resources people that never come into the class to assist, and no one is there monitoring them.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that happen that are wrong. So that's what makes me a little bit different than the other three. Have you noticed that I will explain to our superintendent that our food is not that great, that our kids wouldn't risk their life.
I saw your TikTok about that. How you said it was insulting for a piece of bread for
I- Isn't it
yeah, the
true?
host rating. Yeah, you had mentioned that in your TikTok. I saw your TikTok.
And that's a real insult to us, because if you've ever been in our district, 90% of the food gets thrown away. Many kids, including myself, I'm not a kid obviously, but lacto intolerant, but they force us to drink the milk because it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. I think Oprah Winfrey tried to attack the lactose problem, and they told her, Oprah, you're wealthy and everything else. Do not attack the milk industry. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Yeah.
So, and then they won't even provide water. Plus, the nanoplastics in our system. I would definitely demand that within 100 days after I'm in there, I would demand that every school site have a nice filtration system where the kids and the adults can go and get water. It may still have some contaminants. 99% will be clean, but the nano plastics that are in our bottles
Yeah.
are by far more toxic than we actually want to accept.
Yeah. You know, for me, like this is I'm not big on politics at all. I'll just be honest with you. I'm not big on politics, and the reason why I'm not big on politics is because I always feel like when somebody's in a position of power, right, nothing's really done. Nothing's ever done. People promise the world. People promise that. You vote. When I was
Mhm.
young, I voted, and I was like, yes, this is gonna change, but it seems like it never changes. It seems like it's always the same, right? And
That's
and so
correct.
how would you make a difference? 'Cause, to a voter like myself, how would you convince a voter like me saying like, you know what, things don't change. It doesn't matter who is in this position. It's not going to change anyway. So why would I even vote?
I think transparency is scary. You can't see the stars unless it's dark.
Yeah.
That's when you can appreciate the stars.
Hmm.
But the people that are crooked are afraid of the light. They're afraid of transparency. When somebody says, I'm going to go ahead and hire Mr. Vergara to be the next superintendent for District Central, and all of a sudden I realize, oh, Mr. Vergara is Gutierrez's compadre, or and they're not competent. So I think what happens, the biggest fear is that can we confront the superintendents of why we have such a low achievement rate and so high, such a high dropout rate and the lack of education. And if they're not good, remove them. One thing that got me in trouble, I always used to get in trouble, but one of the things that got me in trouble, and I told Mr. Buettner, I told him, I said, the biggest problem we have is we're playing musical chairs with the same clowns. Same clowns have a chance to sit
Hmm.
there. I said, and you keep trying to remodel a house with termite infested wood. They're
Hmm.
not good. Those people are not good. You have to get rid of them. And so a lot of the times, board members, what they do is they protect their own people, not because they're competent, but because they know them or they contributed to their campaign. I would never do that. That's why I don't want anyone. So it may be only one finger, since I'm the only finger, but I truly believe that the people want a fist. They want somebody that can go ahead and fight and say, I'm not in it for the money. I'm willing to give $30,000 or whatever they pay me per year for scholarships. And it doesn't matter if the school is a charter school, a Catholic school, a Lutheran school. If the kid qualifies, and basically my criteria is, are you going into education? So we can either go with $1,000 or 500, but it would be the community that would decide.
Yeah.
But I don't think the other people will give $30,000 of their money for scholarships. And if they do, even if I lose, we won because they made
Yeah.
a commitment.
Yeah. So what would you say is the biggest problems facing our district? If you were to name top five, top three biggest problems facing LAUSD today in 2024.
Well, I think the biggest problem is indifference. The adults are indifferent to the learning environment of our kids.
Hmm.
They really are. It's an indifference. And then the unions are not willing to fight for the rights of the students. They're willing to fight for the rights of their workers. And sometimes they don't do a good job. UTLA has a $48 million budget and they bought that building or they're leasing it. And you know what? They're overcharging their customers, their clients, and they're not fighting for a better education for the kids. They're not fighting for 25 to 1. So
Yeah.
there, that alone, I would have said, hey, how come? And you're not doing anything to reduce the cost size. ALA, ALA is nothing more than the arm of the management team and LAUSD. The main ones that work their butt off and really don't get as compensated are all the people in the offices, the cafeteria people, the groundskeeper. Sometimes people say, well, you're not cleaning the school right. Well, some people don't even clean their house and they only have 3 rooms. Imagine having to
Yeah.
clean the entire school, do the restroom. They have a weird formula when it comes to the
Yeah.
custodians,
I've
where
seen
they
it.
give them a certain number of minutes to
Seen
clean the
it.
toilets. And if you've ever been in a middle school, sometimes those kids miss. They really miss where
Oh
they're
yeah.
supposed to,
Yep.
and it's filthy. And so the custodian would say, well, I can't finish. And so what they do sometimes, they give a lot of people also overtime that shouldn't receive any overtime. That's how they
Hmm.
compensate them. And their loyalty is like, oh, let's do the cleanup on. No, you should have done it when you had time, and provide enough people, enough resources so the school does not look filthy. One of the biggest challenges is that we continue to bring people into the system that have really no interest in our kids,
Yeah.
but they're making a lot of money. Transparent California shows people that have earned 250, 300,000, $500,000, and it says education doesn't pay. I think that's a lie.
Yeah.
And if we look at how many people are just dead weight up there, get rid of them if they're not directly involved and providing resources for the kids and for the community, get rid of them. Create a parent program that I would say duplicates what happens in Eagle Rock. Empower the parents to see that it is possible. Because if a community like Eagle Rock can demand things and things get done, and it's a community of 34,000 people, we have
Yeah.
more voters in Southgate. We have 46,000 voters in Southgate. But exactly what you said, they're tired of lies. They're tired of people promising things. In our own community, the sidewalks suck, uh,
Yep.
potholes all over the
That's
place,
right.
the lights don't work, and all the politicians say is like, we're gonna get to it. Well, if you live right there and your grandkid is walking down the street and it's dark, you would try to solve it right away. And if you
Yeah. Let's
can't,
talk.
then you need to be
Right.
replaced.
Let's talk about the homelessness, the tents right next to the schools, right? The drug use right next to the schools,
That's
the
right.
graffiti right next to the schools,
That's
right?
correct.
The trafficking happening in our communities. All that stuff is happening right next to our schools. It's happening right next to our schools.
And they're not willing to do anything. They look for excuses. All broken promises. Our kids, I went to MacArthur Park one time, and I don't want to sound like I'm a weenie, but I left crying and I said, this is wrong. I feel
That's sad.
sorry for the homeless, but it's wrong for our youth. Our kids can't even enjoy going to the park. That's
Yeah.
not fair. And it's
Yeah.
not because the kids wouldn't enjoy being at the park, it's that it's not safe for them.
It's not
It is
safe.
just not safe because we don't know what the individual that's homeless is because they're mentally ill, they're a drug addict, they're just temporarily homeless, they're just new arrivals. We don't know, but the adults look the other way and billions of dollars get wasted
It's
on broken
sad.
promises.
It's sad because like I said, you go to MacArthur Park, the Pico
Mhm.
Union area, all those parks right there. I wouldn't take my kids to those parks. I'll drive to Eagle Rock.
Oh no,
I'll drive to Griffith Park.
that's
I'll drive
correct.
to Elysian Park. I will drive somewhere else where I don't have to go to these community parks and see like drug use and a tense up and all that stuff. That's ridiculous, And how do it blows my mind, like how do we address that? How would I don't know if you have that answer. I don't know if you could address that, but
We can
that's just
address it. It should be addressed because ultimately it's a holistic approach to our community. Those individuals, I just talked to one of my students. I hadn't talked to him in about 30 years. And he came out only because they were telling him to endorse some individual that is running against us or against me. And I said, and he says, I know Gutierrez. He was my teacher. And, we used to take the kids to Cachuma Lake. I took them to Carolina Island to
Mhm.
see the snow. And I said, did you ever go to a place before that, Pablo? And he says, never. You took
Yeah,
us. And we should take them because I would tell my wife, I said, exposure is the best way to educate people.
right.
And so, but when our kids get exposed now, we walk down and there are tents and homeless people. We used to ride our little bikes, and my sons would go down LA River all the way to the beach. Now I may feel safe, but I wouldn't take my kids and my grandkids. It's very dangerous. A lot of people there that are going through some difficult times, and they're made
Mhm.
permanent residents out of cardboard
Yeah.
and even on the streets on Firestone, you begin to see it goes from just having a little crate to all of a sudden they're building a little mansion and they're almost renting it
With
out.
electricity, with
Right,
electricity.
exactly. So, do I have all the solutions? As I told a guy that called me from one of the newspapers, I said, look, I'm not Google, but even
Yeah.
Google, when you Google things, they're wrong. They give you wrong answers. All I can tell you is we need to have an honest conversation with people like you, with people that truly want to improve our community and say, basta. Let's
Yeah.
make it happen.
Yeah.
Can it happen? Yes, it can. Um, all it is that we have to be willing to come together and really unmask those corrupt individuals in our communities that don't care about education, don't care about the kids, that are
Yeah.
dream killers. We have a lot of people in our system that are dream killers. They label kids criminals or they say, oh, don't suspend them, don't arrest them. But are you going to do anything to send that energy in a different direction? Because the
Yeah.
kid is screaming. They want some help and they want to be able to be successful. No one wakes up and says, I want to be a failure. They
Yeah.
wake up thinking, I'm going to conquer the world. And they go to sleep and say, well, I guess I didn't.
Yeah. How would you address that? How would you address safety, right? Because you got in the classrooms, you got kids with social emotional needs who will act out in class, right? You've probably seen stuff where they throw chairs, destroy the classroom, right? The whole classroom's a mess, and then the teachers feel like they're unsafe. The students in the classroom for sure are unsafe if things are being thrown all over the classroom, right? And that is a real issue that happens in today's classrooms. How
Well,
would you
I
address that?
believe in tough love, and I've always believed in tough love. So when kids would act a certain way, I would tell them, you know what, not in my school.
Yeah,
This is my school. This is my home, And the kids here want to make sure that they're safe and it's a safe learning environment. And the teachers, they're not going to come back tomorrow. I said, they're going to come back tomorrow if you're scaring the hell out of them. I said, this is their home, their
Mhm.
kingdom. I said, so if you can't function in that classroom, come and let's sit down. Let's talk to your mom. Let's talk to some friends. They give you the support. I said, but your behavior is unacceptable. You're not going to prevent somebody else from learning. And I've always made that. When I first started at Simon Rodia, the school had 5 or 6 principals. And I told the guy that was there, I said, give me a month and I'll have it under control. I said, but
Mhm.
it's my program, my program. And I made sure the kids knew I got there at 5:30 in the morning. I had set up everything. I had cleaned up the school in case it wasn't clean. And when the kid came in, hey, buenos dias, Pedro. Hey, how you doing, Jose? And if they started to say something, I said, come on, let's come to my office. Let's find out what's going on. Having a bad day? I've had those too, man. And then you have to know, I have pigeons, rollers. And so because of the pigeons, most of the time when I've had issues with real tough kids, 99% of them have birds or
Yeah.
dogs or cats or fish. And as silly as it sounds, when I tell somebody, well, I got a lot of pigeons, and I show them my rollers and how I've been a member of the roller club for a long time, they're going to say, you got pigeons? Yeah. And I know a
Yeah.
lot of people from Watts. I know people from Compton. What do you mean you know people who got, yeah. I used to go to the
Alright.
projects. As soon as you tell them you know where the projects are,
Yeah. Make a
and I'll
connection.
go down and I'll say, I know the people from the Florencia, some of the members that were pigeon breeders. You know so and so. I said, yeah, because
Mhm.
now they know that I know the community. I'm not afraid to go to El Paraíso and buy some paletas or go to
Yeah.
Los Panchos Bakery. And that alone, I swear, it opens up
That's
a
right.
different view of, oh, this guy is normal. Yes, I'm normal. I'm just like you. I just happen to have a tie today. I'm playing the role of principal. But guess
Yeah.
what? I wasn't always the principal.
Yeah.
I think there's hope. The thing is that a lot of people are afraid. If a kid is rude and disrespectful to you, just on what I've talked to you, for the last couple of
Mhm.
times, you would not tolerate that.
I
And the kid
wouldn't.
would know.
I wouldn't.
See,
What you're saying is exactly what I would do. I wouldn't tolerate it. I'd be like, nope, it's not gonna happen. And I would, for the rest of my being, like for the rest of my time at that school, there is no way that I'm just gonna keep fighting it. I'm
right,
gonna keep fighting it. I'm gonna keep giving him support. I'm gonna keep. Nope, it's not gonna happen. You're not gonna do this. It's not gonna happen.
right,
And you just keep at it for as long as it takes for you to win. That's what I think.
exactly.
For
And
as long
ultimately,
as
the
it
kid
takes
wins.
for you to
The kid
win.
wins.
Yeah,
That's
yes, exactly. That I mean that's how I feel.
Yeah, yeah. And the
Um,
biggest issue that we have sometimes is that the people are really afraid of the kids. And if you're afraid of the kids, then you shouldn't be there. Sometimes the kids would get real close to me and say,
uh,
so what? What? And I
uh,
say, look into my eyes. And I said, what for? I said, do I look scared to you? I'm not scared. I said, I want to be your friend. I want to support you. I'm here to help you. But in my classroom, the teachers are respected. Because once they're not respected, learning is not going to take place.
mhm,
This is our school if you want to be part of the family. If you want to be part of the family, I'm cool. I'm cool. But most of the kids, they will sometimes say, hey, man, just show me some love. Show me some love. All they're asking for is show me some respect. Show that you care,
right,
and a lot of the kids, like 99% of them, they really want to be respected, shown
right.
love, and then they want to be shown what they need to do to
That's right.
improve their life, to be
That's right.
productive citizens and fulfill their dream, fulfill their goal. Most of the kids, the first thing that I ask them, and it's always worked, how much do you love your mom? And when the kid says, I don't know, a lot, I said from 1 to 10. And the kid will say, 20. I said, you're lying. You're lying right now. How am I lying? I said, do you hug her every day? Well, no. Do you tell her I'm sorry that I'm not perfect, mom? Well, no. Do you ever help her wash the dishes or you just acknowledge that the dishes are dirty? Do you bring the dirty clothes from the hamper down to the laundry mat or the laundry
Mhm,
room? Well, no. And do you always tell her, just in case something happens, mom, you're the best mom in the world? And just simple things like that, the
yeah,
kid would reflect. And once they start reflecting, they can say, you're right, I'm not the best son. I should be better.
yeah,
Because mothers to me are very central. I mean, my mom was an incredible person. I'm sure your mom is too. Is
mhm,
dead, but moms really make a difference in changing behavior a
mhm,
lot.
mhm. Well, how would you address the school budget, right? Because the school budget is horrible right now, right? I was at a school budget meeting, and they're cutting the budgets. It's bad. It's bad. How would you address that issue?
Well, I would. One of the things that I would do, I know it's going to sound kind of crazy, but I would ask them to come and talk to my wife because my wife has always kept a perfect budget. She doesn't allow
Yeah.
me to spend money that I don't have, and she always tells me we can't afford it. and let's think about it. And if we're going to do that, this is where we're going to have to get the money from. So what the district does, because the money is not theirs, ultimately when they get a lot of money, they create a lot of waste,
Hmm.
a lot of waste. And then once you tell them to go ahead, I don't know if you ever watched the movie Joseph, Prince of Egypt.
Yeah, yes, I've seen it. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, it's a cartoon.
it's a cartoon, but the message is extremely strong. The brother sold him, got rid of him. This man, every time he got something negative, turned it into positive. He
Hmm.
was able to tell about dreams. And I remember when in that cartoon, he basically sends the message of even with that the branch when the tree broke, he fixed it. And what he
Hmm.
always kept was a positive thing. He told the king, in good times, we got to put the stuff away and save it
Yes.
because the bad times are going to come. And when they come, the people will starve and that will cause a revolution.
Yeah.
Well, the district should watch that movie 20 times because if they internalize that concept of sooner or later, it's going to get bad. We have to keep the money. But the district, don't worry, money's coming. The government is going to send the money. If our kids fail, they know that failure generates billions of dollars. Success, a certificate that says an outstanding school. The district is based on failure. And they've always based everything on failure. I mean, in 1958, when in 1968, when the kids decided to walk out in East LA and demand better education and more quality social emotional support, you know what? I don't think they got any of it because they didn't care about the kids. And the unions, when they started organizing by 1970, learned from the students that it could be done. But the union, they've always been cowards. They've never demanded
Yeah.
anything. All they care about is what is it in it for me? The day
Yeah.
they stop caring about that, I guarantee you the money will not be an issue because the money is there. There's a lot of support from the community, there's a lot of support from the federal government, there's a lot of waste. Look at how much they pay to build the school. Billions, and many
Hmm.
times they're a piece of crap.
Hmm.
A lot of our schools, nothing works. It breaks down. Southeast was an area that you could find all kinds of things from General Motors. You know, it's just
Yeah.
bad. I think the money is there, and then just think about how much they paid 140 million to the victims of Miramonte, 6.3 million to the victim of Southeast that was having a relationship
Hmm.
with the teacher, or she told the adults and adults failed to protect her, and more could come out. And then all the teachers that are under investigation, if there are 300 at 100,000 each, plus the subs that have to, a
Yeah.
lot of
A
wasted
lot of
time,
money.
right?
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
money's there. I just think that somehow I call them bureaucrats, the bureaucrats, right? Los burros. The bureaucrats create their own empire of wasting money.
Yeah.
I saw the budgets, and many times the budgets, I would say, send the money back. And they'll say, but if you don't use it, send the money back. I'm not going to use it for this crap. I don't need that stuff. Well, you got to buy this, but then not take the money back. And they
Yeah.
don't like that. But if you're not going to use it in the right way, why are we going to use all that money just to buy equipment that we'll never use?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a
That's
lot
the
of
point.
waste.
There is a lot of waste. That's a good point. Um, I have a buddy, and he wants me to ask you this question.
Yes, sir.
School lunches. School lunches are unhealthy. School lunches are, no, like you said, so the kids don't eat them. Nobody really likes them, and they're really, non-nutritious.
That's correct.
How would you help that situation? How would we feed our kids better? It should be a priority, and it's not.
It is. You're right. Well, I don't want to sound too revolutionary, but you know the best way it would be for the kids to simply boycott and say we're not going to eat this crap. We're not eating
Mm,
it. Because actually if we had community people, and I'm talking about the cafeteria people that work there, and our schools are small enough where if we actually told people, let's go ahead and create nice quality food for our students. Let's hire more people if we have to. Nice warm food, and we can generate it like this, produce. It could be done, but they don't do it because the vendors that sell all the crap to the district are making a hell of a lot of money. They don't care about nutrition. They know that 90% of the food gets thrown away. We
yeah.
know that. But they do it because they don't care about the people that are there. We see a lot of people that are overweight. We see a lot of administrators and a lot of teachers that are extremely overweight. That's not fat shaming. That's just stating a fact.
Hmm.
And the fact is that It is part of the stress, part of the nutrition. Our kids, when they no longer wanted to eat drink the milk, they brought back the chocolate milk and the strawberry milk. When the kids didn't want to eat certain things, they brought some stuff back. Because ultimately, if you take away that craving of the little chickens and like in our community, they just opened up right in front of Southgate High School a KFC.
Yeah.
And our elected officials, in their infinite wisdom, said, finally, a world class restaurant in front of our high school. And I said, are you kidding, Dingleberries? I mean, can you imagine world
Yeah,
class
world class.
KFC?
That's
No
funny.
estamos todos cachetones, but so
Yeah.
um, it can be done. I think if the parents start demanding, if the parents said no more, they're not giving us free lunch. We pay for that. And I think what happens is their mentality is we're feeding all those Latinos and black kids the food. No, no, no. That comes from our budget. It comes from our money. You're not giving me anything free. One lady got really upset one time when I said, are you going to come to the reservation and see what kind of food you're giving us? And she says, I don't appreciate that. I said, well, then stop treating us like we're in a reservation.
Yeah.
I said, because that's what I see. I see a bunch of crap, of bad food. I said, and the kids don't want to eat it, but you tell them, take it, take it, take it, take it. Because if you don't take it, then we're going to get in trouble. And I know that for a fact because I heard people say that at different schools where I work is like, just take it and dump it. Take it and dump it. See, the mentality is because without picking up if they don't pick up their lunch, you know that already because you work at a school. If they
Yep.
don't pick up their lunch or their breakfast, then we can't get reimbursed. It got so bad they wanted to feed the kids inside of the classroom, not because they wanted to go ahead and they didn't care so much about the nutrition, is they wanted to make sure they served enough so that they would be compensated for the number of breakfasts that they were serving.
Hmm.
It's all numbers,
It's
you
all
know.
money.
It's all about the money. And I
It's
think
all.
people are tired of that.
I think people are tired of that, and that's why people don't want to vote because nothing gets done. They're
No.
that's back to my earlier point. Like nothing
Yes.
is done. Everybody knows these things. Which is like if you're in education, you know that the meals are nutritious. You
That's
know
correct.
that like all the things that you've been talking about right now, we know it. We definitely know that these
I
things
could make a
happen.
difference because see, I'm not part of the system. I would make a difference but I would bring people together and say, get rid of all this crap. This is unacceptable.
Yeah.
Surprise me, God, if I go back to what the original thing is that God would surprise me, but we would surprise more the other three people if they were to lose against this movement, they would be really surprised because they
I
would
would.
realize, wow, God is surprising. God is the only one that really right now has the power to change. And I really thank Eagle Rock in that sense. That St. Dominic is a very humble, and I don't want to insult the church, but to me, it was a very humble church because I've been to
Mhm.
churches where you could
And
tell there's a lot of wealth and a lot of superficial thing. There, it was all of it was just what is needed,
yeah.
what feeds the soul. And I told my wife, I said, oh my God, if I didn't live that far, I'd probably go to that
Yeah.
church every
Yeah.
because I felt that. I felt that community and I felt that love for the community. And then the people at the school site, you could just tell right across, they were involved Saturdays and Sundays with their kids. And I was like,
Mhm.
that's what we need in our regular public schools instead of that fear factor of the at-risk committee telling you you can't bring any kids to school on Saturdays or Sundays because if something happens, there's a lawsuit.
Yeah.
The fear factor.
It's true. One final message.
Yes,
One
sir.
final message that you could give to the viewers right now. If you were to just sum it up right here, what would you tell them so they would vote for you?
I would tell them, surprise me. Surprise me that you truly, really care and that you're going to wake up and realize that this is a chance that you have in a lifetime. I'm a person that really doesn't care about politics, has never cared about money. It's a temporary inconvenience. Truly believes that the community deserves better and that we have to make sure that those individuals that are in control of our district, control of our destiny, control of our resources, get the message. No more. No more. People are really tired. And I truly believe that if enough people send that message, that I would win and the other three people would go home and realize people are tired. They know you're Pinocchios. They see your nose growing as fast as you start promising things. I
Yeah.
will promise you one thing. I have integrity. I have commitment. I'm a person that gets up early in the morning at 4, and I would be there way before some of those workers if I were to get elected. And I would make sure that our parents are respected, our students are recognized, and definitely the food needs to go. That's a must. That's a must.
How could we help you? How could the viewers help you? How
You
could the
know,
viewers help you?
it's to just spread the word, let people know that I want to make a difference, but I can't make a difference without the support of the people. This is
Mm,
people power. This is a very simple word that I think you and I probably completely understand. All we can do to change lives is to sell hope.
that's right.
Hope.
All
Once we
about hope.
sell hope and people accept that it is only through the difficult times that hope allows us to get up every morning, is what allowed me to have 5 kids, really six, one died. And hope is the only thing that allows me to understand that one day I'll see my mom and my relatives in heaven. I mean, unless I go to hell, of course. But then I'll be there with a bunch of board members. I'm kidding. But no, and I thank you for giving me a chance, because you
Yeah.
know what? As I come and I talk to you, I begin to reflect on what is important. And what it's always been important is when you see that light, when that kid smiles, especially
Yeah.
if they're like little troublemakers or the madrosos.
Mm,
Once you see that light, and there's a guy that's a police officer. I won't mention his name, but this guy, when I retired, he had had a heart attack, and he came and he hugged me, and I hadn't seen him since 1990, and we were both crying, right? And he said, "Who would I be without you, maestro?" And I,
mm,
I'm gonna get emotional. And I
mm.
started crying. I said, "And who the hell would I be without you guys?"
Right. That's
So,
right. Yeah.
you're a teacher, so you know the
Yeah.
importance of we are
Yeah.
only who we are because of our kids.
That's right. We need them just as much as they need us. That's absolutely right. Well, Mr. Gutierrez, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Thank you so much for spending time, sharing your point of
No,
view, giving us hope, spreading your
yeah,
message. I wish you the best of luck.
thank you,
And
thank you,
I hope that people see this and they see who you really are, and they make an educated vote the day of March 5th. Correct? Is it March 5th?
thank you. Yes, yes, thank
Yes.
you,
All
thank you.
right.
God
You.
bless you.
God
Take care.
bless you. Take care.